Hello and welcome to our April President's Message. I'm your NAPO President, Mindy Gotting, and I'm excited to be here today with all of you. We, as always, have a very interesting guest joining us today. I am thrilled to welcome Robin Reynolds, CPO, who's joining the conversation today in her capacity as our BCPO President. So, Robin, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and speak with you.
Yes, and thank you for getting up super early in the morning. We're recording, and poor Robin is rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. It's like
Yeah,
not even
if I
2
sound a
a.m.
little froggy, you'll know why.
Very good. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to make this work
Yeah,
because I've been eager to talk to you. There's really exciting stuff happening with the CPO program.
yes.
Um, so, why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit more about you, Robin? How long have you been in business? Tell us about your business and where you're
Okay.
located, anything that we need to know.
So my business is Organized to Harmonize, and I'm based in the Los Angeles area. And this is my 16th year now, which I can't even believe. I am only residential, so I don't do any business or productivity. But within that residential, I kind of do a lot because I do, basic, regular residential organizing, moves, but I also do custom closet design and home inventories and home clean out. So the list kind of rolls on. It's not just one
Fantastic.
thing, but I like doing a little bit of everything.
And you've been super busy this season, which is one of the reasons why we're meeting so early for you right now.
Yes, it has been 2024 has started off like gangbusters. So I am very, very grateful.
I'm so glad to hear it. That's phenomenal. I've been hearing that from a lot of our members actually, that 2024, there's something in the air this year. Everybody's really excited about organizing projects.
Well, that's good. It needs to stay in the air. Whatever
Agreed.
Kool-Aid
Agreed.
they're putting in there, that it needs to stay there.
So, Robin, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you're here to talk about some exciting things that are going on with our CPO program. So, just explain for people who are watching this and maybe aren't familiar with the BCPO, just explain what it is that your role is and what the BCPO is charged with doing for NAPO.
Okay, so BCPO is Board of Certifying Professional Organizers. And, there's always a misconception between a certification and a certificate.
Mm,
So that is always a big, because anybody can start a certificate program. You can have one, I can have one, anybody can have one, because it's usually just, following a course and, maybe taking a test, and at the end you get a certificate. The same way that we would with our CEUs, that's what you would get
mhm.
with a certificate program. But certification, and what NAPO has done from the inception, is create a program that follows the NCAA. No, NCCA. I always get that confused with the college sports. Plus, it's March Madness now, so I'm like, what? Anyway, so we follow those guidelines so that the goal is to one day to actually become a certified program under their guidelines are. So we follow their guidelines as much as possible. That's why we require a certain number of hours, a certain number of education, passing a test. That's why you have to renew every few years, because these are all the things that they require.
Nice. And I'm a proud CPO. I was actually one of the founding class in 2007.
Wow.
Believe that. So I've
Impressive.
had and maintained my CPO for many, many years now, and it really has transformed my business. So again, there are a lot of people I'm sure who are watching who are not yet involved with the CPO program. So just really quickly, talk about what it takes to become a CPO, a certified professional organizer.
Well, there's different requirements that you need to meet. You need to be currently there is a need of 1,500 hours within a 5-year period. Now, it sounds daunting, but when you break it all down, it really isn't, and it really is attainable for everyone. I know I hear from headquarters all the time that one of the biggest questions they get asked when people call is, how do I become certified? So
Hmm.
it's something to aspire to. So in addition to the number of hours, that they need. They have to have a certain number of education credits. And some of those hours also can be substituted with degrees or military service. There's different things. So it's not just completely 1,500 hours. And then they have to, of course, take the test and pass the test. And it's just basically a pass or fail. It's not a graded test.
Hmm. So I love that it's a combination of demonstrating your knowledge and proficiency with professional skills, but
Right.
also that tenure, that experience in the field is really what it takes to become a CPO. And
Yeah.
then there's also a code of ethics. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Because we want to be able to service our clients at the highest level possible. So we all have to follow a code of ethics so that the client, because basically we're going into strangers' homes, they don't know us from Adam. So they need to be able to trust us. Oftentimes we are going through very expensive things of theirs or very personal, important things to
Hmm.
them. So they need to be able to trust who they have coming into their home. So, absolutely, the code of ethics is extremely important.
Right. Okay. And so we've had a lot of people in the past years talk about the test. And for many of us, sitting for a test this many years after we finished our last classroom education moment can be daunting. So
Yeah.
is there a preparatory class for taking this exam?
Yes, we are re-releasing it because I know it kind of went away. And I know for me, it was very invaluable for me taking that course. So we are releasing it or re-releasing it this summer. I don't have an exact release date yet, but you can be assured that it will be coming somewhere July, August.
Okay, very good. And
Yeah.
so for people who are curious and want to understand more about how having this credential might change their business, what do you usually tell people? Like, how does being a CPO affect one's business?
Well, from a personal level, I think there's just a sense of pride, number one, because you've done this thing, that not everybody does, and not everybody can do because, it's a stringent test. So, you got to put some work into it. It's not just like, whatever 1 plus 1 is two, you got to put the effort in to be able to pass the test. But because you have their CPO, it warrants you the ability to increase your fees,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe somebody doesn't want to pay where whatever area you're in. Maybe they don't want to pay you $150, just because you decided you wanted to be an organizer with no experience or whatever. But when you have the credential and the knowledge behind you, then it makes
Mm-hmm.
it more feasible that you can charge that and be able to back up why you're charging your fees. Because it often does come up. It's like, well, I talked to somebody else and they're only charging X amount. And, you kind of get what you pay for sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely gives you the ability to increase your revenue. It gives you an advantage over other organizers, whether they're in NAPO or not, because all know that there's a lot of organizers that are not affiliated with NAPO. But if somebody cares about credentialing and education, they're going to want to work with a CPO. Not that you have to be in NAPO to gain your certification, but that gives you an upper hand against somebody else that doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it
We
also,
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that we are really into professional development and credentialing in my business, Abundance Organizing. And we
Hmm.
often hear from our clients that when they call in, that that's the main reason that's attracted them to our business over other competitors in the marketplace. And
That's
we've just
great.
got a job recently at the beginning of the year, and I know you do a lot of moves. So we also do a lot of moves, unpacking after a move.
Hmm.
And we had a client who contacted us who was moving from your area, actually from LA to one of our Central Virginia markets. And she had told the house manager who was coordinating everything, who was
Hmm.
eventually the one who hired us, that she was only willing to work with a CPO, that she had had a CPO serve her in California, and she wanted to make sure she had another certified professional organizer on this end of her move. So we ended up getting this phenomenal job because of our credential. So often
Yeah.
when I hear organizers who are like, nobody, clients don't care about that, I'm like, they're just not calling you and you don't
Yeah.
know it.
Exactly. They may
Hmm.
care because they may be looking at, the directory and only looking for CPOs. And
Hmm.
they're not, like you said, they just may not say it to you, but that may be who they're talking to. And I've had clients on occasion tell me, well, I called you because you were a CPO, or I wanted to work with a CPO. So I've had the same experience as well.
Right. So, all right. So let's talk about the program itself. So, have there been any changes to other than this exciting prep class? Have there
Yeah.
been any changes to the program recently?
Yes, while it is still, something to aspire to, and it is a stringent test, we're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for people. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reducing the number of hours to take the test from the 1,500 to 1,000 hours. So, it makes it, and still within that 5 year time period, but it still makes it more feasible for, or accessible, or easily accessible for people, let's say. But what I want people to understand also is that the mind will play tricks on you, and you hear the 5 years. You don't have to wait 5 years. If you
Mhm.
get what you need, if you have your qualifications in 1 year, then you can take the test. You don't have to wait 5 years. But people see that five and they're like, oh my God, I have to wait 5 years. But you don't. It's just within the 5 years, you need to have that number of hours. So, however long that takes you, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, once you have the allotted requirements, you're eligible to take the test. So that should make it, by reducing the number of hours, that should make it easier for people to be able to get the qualifications to sit for the exam.
Wow, that is really exciting. I know that I have the same conversation with a lot of candidates who come into my business
Mhm.
and they're really interested in getting that credential as quickly as possible. And that's actually a value proposition for my company because I let them know that, the national average is getting this number of hours within 3 to 5 years. And on my team, it's 18 months is the average that somebody is hits that eligibility mark. And then usually they take a couple months to study for the exam
Right,
and then
right.
they're ready for the exam. So that is very exciting. So what went into this decision?
Oh, there was a whole lot that went into it. Last year in 23, we started a task, or a task force was created to find out a lot of information and delve into a lot of different things and see how we could, or what we could do in order to make the program more desirable for people. And that was one of the things that came out of it after we had surveys and things, that people just felt the amount of time to get, or the number of hours, was very daunting. And within that thousand, let me say too, you still have your 250 max substitute hours that you can put in there. So in essence, it could only be 750 actual client hours that you need instead of the thousand even. So, but the task force was really, really, that was the biggest catalyst, or what we needed to kind of really figure out what was going to be the best way to try and make the program more enticing.
Hmm.
Because a
And so,
newer organizer may hear again, oh, 5 years, and then they get to the 5 year mark and they're like, well, I don't want it anymore. I don't need it. I'm working. But they don't think of the other advantages.
okay, so we're trying to make this credential more attainable in your first 3 years of business, essentially, is what I'm hearing.
We want to increase the program so that there are
Mhm.
more CPOs out there, so that more people know about it. Because the more that people know about it, the more of an edge it gives everyone that has
Mhm.
the credential.
Right. So really growing the program is the
Yes,
goal. And a growing number of CPOs just increases the visibility and recognition of everyone's credential. So whether you got it this
absolutely.
year or you've had it for like me for, whatever, I can't do the math, 18 years, then there is benefit to having that critical mass where we have more people out there talking about this credential and demonstrating the skills related to
Absolutely.
it.
for
Good.
sure.
Okay, so that is so exciting. So I'm sure this was not an easy process. It sounds like it's been more than a year in the making.
Pretty
Um,
much. I mean, there's always been talk of how we can grow the program. What's the best way to grow the program? And there was really no definitive answer until we kind of came up with the task force and did all of that research. And even then, we still had to kind of suss it out and figure out what is going to be the best way to make it more enticing for people and still
mhm.
make it something that is something you have to work towards without giving it away, if that makes sense.
Right. We still want to have maintain that standard of having the demonstration of knowledge and the expertise.
Yes. It's a
Yes.
standard of excellence. You know, you don't want to take anything away from that. You just want to make more people um you want to make it more desirable for people to want to attain.
Mhm. Okay, and so, is that is there anything else going into the conversation about growing the program?
Anything else? I mean, not per se.
Mhm.
Not at the moment. Or not at the moment that I can talk about.
Okay. Ooh, okay. So how can someone like me, I'm a CPO, how can I also support the growth of the CPO credential?
Well, you know, what I always say, there are a lot of us that do a lot of media interviews or quotes in magazines and things like that. I would always make sure the author or writer or whoever is doing it always uses your CPO as your designation, because the more that it's even in print things, then the more that the public knows about it. And then it would be more like, well, what's a CPO? Let me look that up. So
Mhm.
again, it's the recognition. In a perfect world, I would only like the media to work with CPOs when they need quotes and things. But that's a messaging thing. So we need to work on messaging a little bit with where that's concerned. But, you know, I always say when anybody ever asks me what I do, I'm not an organizer. I'm a certified professional organizer, you know,
Mhm.
because it starts a conversation if they want to know, well, what's the difference? And then I can go into the whole thing. But the more that we refer to ourselves as CPOs and certified professional organizers, the more that it's just going to be the norm. And then other people are going to want to be, you know, part of the program also, or to gain their credential.
Mhm. Yes, and your certification really represents a notable achievement, right? It's a testament to your dedication, your expertise, your commitment to professional excellence.
Yeah.
So I even as the program is modified, that accomplishment remains a symbol of your skills. And so I think that it's up to us really to educate and inform our clients and our local markets about CPO.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I always take it as a badge of honor for myself. You know, like there wasn't a consideration for me not to get it. Because initially I was actually doing a whole lot of estate sales at the time that got my CPO. And I didn't think I was actually going to qualify because I didn't think, you know, estate sales, you're never with the client, you know,
Right.
so I didn't think that I would have the hours. But in addition to other client work that I was doing, when I kind of looked at it all, I was like, oh, well, actually, I do qualify, because it really isn't that much. If you really break it down, and that's when it was actually in 3 years, if you break it down, you know, that's 500 hours a year, you know, break that down by month, by week, you know, and I think it came out to an average something like 8 hours a week or whatever. So that could be one day, you know, or two
Right.
days in a week. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was excited when I was like, yeah, I can become a CPO or at least qualify. Then I had to take that test. I was like, oh God.
I know. No one
Like
wants
you
to sit
said, it's
through
been
a
a
test.
minute since I've been in school and taken a test. Just a couple minutes.
Just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Very good. So, Robin, this is really exciting. Where should people go if they want any more information about CPO, attaining CPO, or if they currently have the credential, the getting educated about the changes?
Well, they can go to napo.net. I'm not sure when this is coming out, and as far as when the notification of the change will be out already. But NAPO.net, they can go to I believe it's the education tab, and then they'll see the information about becoming a CPO. It'll say, I
Mhm.
don't know what it says exactly, but it might say become a CPO, and then it'll give them all the qualifications and what they need to do, and they can always reach out to the board, to anyone on the board, if they have any questions about becoming a CPO, and look forward to the prep course that's going to be relaunching in the summer, because we are all very excited about that, because people have
We
been asking for that like crazy. So when everyone finds out that that is going to be re-released, they are going to be excited.
That is very exciting. I know that has been a long time coming because our EAC and wanted to work with BCPO and make sure we got it right. And I
Yeah,
believe that we have. Everyone is really excited about this prep course.
yeah.
So, Robin, is there anything else before we close our time together today? Is there anything else you want to make sure that everyone knows about the CPO?
Well, I like I said, you don't have to be a member of NAPO. I know this is the president's message of NAPO, but for anyone that may not be a member of NAPO, you can still become a CPO. But obviously, we would love for you to be a member of NAPO as well. But the CPO is as I said, for myself, a badge of honor. I like being able to say that, I look at it as a leg up against other people, or, it gives me pride to be able to say that I'm a certified professional organizer, or somebody sees the letters after my name and they want to know what it is. And it does help in my business. Like you said, clients often will look for it, whether you know it or not. And it makes sense to do it. And I just feel, if this is the profession that you choose, why would you not want to get in? Because it's education like anything else, whether it's a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctorate, whatever your profession is, you get as much education as you can to be able to do your job to the best of your ability. So this is just our way in our industry that we service our clients and do the best that we can do by becoming a CPO.
Well said, Robin. So we will leave it there. Thank you all, as always, for your attention and your time today. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're super excited about all these changes, and we continue to work behind the scenes to make sure that the programs that we're putting out for NAPO are beneficial to all of our members. They're realistic, they're attainable, and they are intended to help you improve and strengthen your business. So I'll see you again in just a few weeks, but thank you all for being with us. And again, as always, I'm Mindy, your president, and thank you to my guest, Robin Reynolds from the BCPO.
Thank you, Mindy.